Hi there and welcome to Learn Excel with Ramon. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to use a very powerful function within Excel called vlookup. So the function itself is very useful when you're working with a large amount of data, and the data doesn't necessarily have to be ordered. So all we need to do is a proper indexing of the data, and then applying the function. A little bit on the syntax there, I'm going to show it to you right now, but it's quite simple in terms of the results that it generates. So let's have a look at the vlookup function. For this example, I have a simple list of, say, student names here. This list has been completely randomly created. I have 100 names in column B, and then I have all of the ID numbers in column A, and then as an example, say math scores in column C. Now, to work with vlookup, we will need one piece of information that we kind of, it's good if we create that piece of information, but at least we have to keep in mind that that piece of information exists. And that is the index numbers that I put in red here at the top. So when you are writing the function, when you are working vlookup, you will need those index numbers. You don't necessarily have to write them in like I did here, as long as you know that once you select the area of the data that you're going to look into, you know that the first column of the data selected, it's always number 1, and then number 2, 3, so on and so forth. I always like just having this row at the top, putting the numbers there, so it's easy for me to reference and it's easy for me to write the vlookup function, especially when you're working with data that has like, I don't know, 30 columns. So you don't want to get lost in what you wanted to pull up in terms of the information on the vlookup function. So let's have a look at this example here. And let's say that I have 100 students, and once I have the ID number, I want to pull up the student name and also the student math score. I can't go through the list, it's just too many items. Imagine if you're working with a list of 1,000 items. That's the purpose of the vlookup. I'm going to index the columns, and I'm going to bring that value up by using the function instead. So let's see how it works. Let's say, for example, that I want to look up a student ID number that is, I'm not sure, let's say 63. Okay. So the way of doing this is by starting on the function equal sign, as I'm doing here, vlookup, open brackets, and the first piece of information I need to inform is lookup value. Okay, so what are you looking at? What are you looking for in the data set? I'm going to simply click on the cell here, cell F2. In other words, whatever number is in that cell F2 in this case, the vlookup function is going to look for, comma, and then I go into the second criteria, table array. So this is where I'm looking into. So I'm telling the vlookup function, look for the number in cell F2 and look for that number in this particular table array. So I'm going to select the entire section. So I always kind of just select the top, and then again I use this trick, Control Shift arrow down on the keyboard. You will select everything that it's under that top row that I selected. Caveat here is that as long as there's no empty rows, which I don't have in this case. So I'm saying look up the number in F2 and look at the number within this table array or this selection. So let's go up here, and then I'm going to simply add a comma there. Now it comes that number that I talked about at the beginning, the column index number. Again, you don't have to write them here, but I do it just so it's easy to look it up. So in this case, I'm looking for the student number that it's in column B, or in this case, column 2 or index 2, not necessarily column 2, but index 2, because I started my index in here, 1 and then 2 and then 3. Because I want the student name, I'm going to bring index number 2, comma again, and I want an exact match, so I'm going to type in false to return an exact match. I need to look at the number 63. Close brackets, hit enter. There we go, Misty Barba. So let's see if 63 is Misty Barba. There we go, with the score 54. Now let's go back and let's do the same thing, but now I want to look into the student's math score, which is indexed in column C in this case, but also 3, because it's the number that it counts in the function, not the actual letter of the column. So I've taught you this before, but just as a reminder, because I don't want the cell F2 to move at all, that cell doesn't change. I want to fix that cell. I'm going to click right in the middle here between F and 2, and I'm going to hit F4. And you see the dollar signs coming up before the letter F and before the number 2. I'm fixing that cell. That cell is not going to float or move around as I move the function around. And because the selection criteria, or the table array in this case, doesn't change either, I'm going to do the same. Click in between and then hit F4. Hit enter. Nothing changed because I'm still returning the student name. If I simply copy and paste this function, you can do it by just dragging this down like this. It returns the same thing, but now, because I'm looking for the student math score, I am going to index column 3 instead of 2, because it is in column 3 that I have the math scores. I'm still looking up the same ID number, which is 63 in this case, but I'm referencing now the math score. So let's see how that goes. 54. And that's it. Once you set this up, any number that you use as your index here, in this case I call it the ID, it will return the reference student name and math score. So say for example 18. So it's Donna Roch 56, which I can see here. Let's say that I want to index, someone tells me my student ID number is 10. Brent Pentlinden 57. So any ID number that you put in here now, because I've indexed it and I reference by using my vlookup function, will show up here. So again, a very easy way of indexing and picking up information out of a large data set. The data set does not have to be ordered, which is the beauty of this function, but by using the vlookup function, you can return or pick up whatever piece of information you have in any large data set in a very, very convenient way. So that's it for today. I hope you've learned something here, and I'll see you next time.